Justice Minister Ronald Lamola has expressed his department's intent to appeal the United Arab Emirates authorities' decision to deny South Africa's extradition request for Rajesh and Atul Gupta. The brothers were understood to have been in custody in a Dubai prison following last year's high-profile arrest. However, reports have emerged that the brothers were spotted in Switzerland late last month. Gupta family members and associates are accused of fraudulent activities and state capture corruption. Speaking during a media briefing, Lamola said the UAE concluded the extradition hearing in February.
We learned with shock and dismay that the extradition hearing had been concluded in the Dubai courts, in the United Arab Emirates courts on the 13th of February 2023, and our extradition request was unsuccessful. The court found that on the charge of money laundering, the crime in question is alleged to have been committed in the United Arab Emirates and in South Africa. In terms of the federal laws of the United Arab Emirates, an extradition can be denied because the United Arab Emirates has the jurisdiction to prosecute the crime. On the charge of fraud, the court found that the arrest warrant relating to this charge was cancelled. The reasons provided for denying our requests are of a technical nature and fly in the face of assurances given by the United Arab Emirates authorities that our request meets their requirements. As stated, several meetings were held with our central authority and the relevant officials in the NPA to check compliance of our request. This approach is inconsistent with Article 17 of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, to which both nations are signatories. Article 17 places a clear requirement on the state parties to obtain clarity on specific matters before refusing an extradition request. It reads, and I quote, "Before refusing an extradition, the requested state party shall, where appropriate, consult with the requesting state party to provide it with an ample opportunity to present its opinions and to provide information relevant to its allegation." We believe this should have been the approach if there was any outstanding information. There was no reason to dismiss our request on the basis of a technicality for which information could have been provided. And I believe the Central Authority and the NDPP could further explain the issue related to the arrest warrant.
SABC News reporter Khayelihle Khumalo is following developments on the story and joins us. A very good afternoon to Khayelihle. It's never a dull day in the South African news landscape. Just tell us why the United Arab Emirates authorities turned down the extradition application of the Gupta family to come back to South Africa.
Well, certainly, Nzinga. So, in as far as the Minister of Justice is concerned, Minister Lamola, so he said, first and foremost, it's an issue of the federal law in terms of the Emirati authorities. So they do feel that the issue of money laundering and corruption, so it's within their jurisdiction. So that's why they felt that it was not possible really for them to go as far as South Africa. So they could have dealt with that particular matter. But then you do have also another fraud charge. So they say pertaining to the fraud issue, it's purely because the warrant of arrest had been cancelled. But of course, Minister Lamola said these technicalities were so confusing because from their side, they adduced, they provided all the primary documentation. In fact, there was a timeline of the events dating back to February 2022, how they went to the Interpol to alert to make sure that those red notices were activated, just going all the way to last night, where to their very surprise, this particular announcement was made. And of course, there was that particular, request from the side of the Justice Ministry in UAE to communicate with South Africa's diplomatic mission in UAE in terms of this particular process.
I mean, there was a lot of sound and fury and excitement about what was going to happen here. But if something happened on the 13th of February, was there not a point where the South African government should have been monitoring what was happening? And what do they plan to do now?
Well, absolutely. Ideally, Nzinga, that should be the case, where they should be kept abreast of these developments, especially because, I mean, the Gupta family, you know, you look at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, it's very clear that, you know, they're touted as the chief architects of state capture. But very interesting also points that were made by the NDPP, Ms. Shamila Patoy, where she was explaining that, you know, so to speak, they're really in the hands of UAE to make sure that they see this process unfold, where the Guptas are brought to South Africa. But of course, they will continue to engage, because the department also says, you know, they'll look at other multilateral levels. So if it doesn't work, because they do have this treaty with the UAE, but also in terms of the legal mutual assistance, in terms of making sure if there are people of interest that they want, mutually the two countries can collaborate together. So there's a very clear assurance that this is not the end of the road for the department. But of course, I mean, how long is a piece of string? That was a particular phrase that was used by the NDPP.
Do you think this is going to see diplomatic tensions or diplomatic row in terms of how it was handled?
I think Minister Lamola was quite at pains to say that South Africa and UAE, they do have very excellent relationship. I mean, they do have a diplomatic mission in Dubai. There's a consul general in Abu Dhabi. So, I mean, really, it's quite a very cordial and sound relationship. But I think there was a reminder that UAE should do everything in accordance, for example, with the United Nations Convention on anti-corruption, where also, you know, the two countries are signatories of this particular treaty, to make sure that they really see their obligations being met, especially because, I mean, the Guptas, everyone keeps asking, you know, where are they? And something that is quite interesting as well, you know, most of the reporters were saying, Minister, did you see them in custody? And Minister Lamola only said they only had a note verbal. So that was quite a very interesting development in this story.
Khayelihle, what did the NPA say about the next steps that are going to be taken in order to try and apprehend the Gupta family or the Gupta brothers who are of interest to them?
So at this particular point in time, we do understand that they do have a Vanuatu citizenship, which is a tiny island in South Pacific. So it's going to be quite a very colossal task for South Africa now to make sure that they actually and eventually do come to our shores. But, you know, something that is important in this regard is the engagement. You know, the NDPP was at pains to say that we're going to have a lot of engagement with UAE to make sure that the Guptas are brought back here in South Africa, because when you look at the linkages of state capture, they are all as fingered as the very chief architects of this particular scandal.